The two universes. This is the point of departure. This is where it all begins. It is a major stone in the foundation of the doctrine of liberation. The following will attempt to provide a simplified explanation of this important keystone. There exist two separate and distinct universes, each composed of billions of stars and galaxies. These two universes are diametrically opposed. The original universe is divine, eternal, never changing. The fallen universe is undivine, temporary, ever changing. The original universe is a universe of absolutes. The fallen universe is one of relativity, of polar opposites, and duality. The original universe is. The undivine universe is a reflection, a modified copy of the original. The original universe reigns in the sixth cosmic sphere, the cosmic astral plane. The fallen universe occupies the seventh cosmic sphere, the lowest, the cosmic physical plane. Both universes exist within the same space. It is not a question of the original universe being up there, while the fallen universe is down here. Both universes exist simultaneously and interpenetrate one another. If you do not believe that it is possible, remember that even man's primitive science has established that the atom is composed of mostly empty space. This means that you are mostly empty space. Your sense organs are only able to perceive the apparent solidity of the human figure and other material objects because this is what they were designed to do. This is part of the illusion. That said, the universal doctrine holds that there is no empty space. Therefore, we know that something else can and does exist in the spaces between our atoms. There are other atoms composed of different materials that we are unable to detect with our human senses. In order to become aware of the original divine universe, we must first develop the proper sense organs. We must tune to that station in order to hear its broadcast. The human life wave, once experienced in the original divine universe, wielding great powers, working in harmony with the impulses of the Absolute. However, a segment of this life wave began to speculate with their powers and ultimately misuse them. This resulted in a portion of that light wave no longer vibrating in harmony with the sixth cosmic sphere, the divine universe. Because they were essentially eternal beings, they could not die, but due to their fallen state, they could no longer remain in the divine realms. In an act of supreme mercy, a location was set aside in the seventh cosmic sphere for this portion of the human life wave to experiencing. The physical plane vibration was more in line with the vibration of these fallen entities. This is how the fallen universe, the emergency order, came to be. That is, where fallen humanity was exiled. The eternal portion of the human entity, the divine spark or spirit spark atom, lies imprisoned in the human microcosm. Its location, the upper right ventricle of the human heart. It is the only remnant of our divine heritage, but it lies dormant, unresponsive to the eternal call. Only when we awaken the rosebud will we have any chance of answering the call and perhaps of beginning our journey home. In the meantime, we are born and we die repeatedly. We suffer life after life of sorrow, tragedy, pain, and lack of fulfillment. That is the nature of this fallen, temporary universe. It was purposely designed to be so. The object was to not allow us to get comfortable here, but to batter the mortal soul mercilessly with sorrow until it cried out for salvation, for freedom from the will of death and rebirth. Only then can the rose of the heart begin to stir and finally respond to the divine call. The creation story found in the book of Genesis symbolically documents the creation of this fallen universe. The story of Adam and Eve outlines how humanity fell from the original universe. These primordial tales, many millions of years old, have been misinterpreted and misapplied by this generation of humanity due to ignorance, lack of knowledge, and cunning behind the scenes shenanigans. If one cannot understand and accept the foregoing, or if one refuses to do so, then one will remain in delusion. If one cannot accept that his present location in time is different from his former location in eternity, one will remain lost. If one does not come to the realization that this is not home and that one must yearn with all of one's heart to be shown the path back to the divine kingdom, the original universe, then that one remains a prisoner. If one cannot accept the fact that there are two universes, divine and undivine, and that man lives quarantined in the undivine universe, that one remains in darkness and will not be able to take even the tiniest step towards liberation until he or she begins to seek true knowledge. This seeking will only occur once the human entity is thoroughly and completely disgusted, disenchanted, beaten, and broken by repeated turns on the wheel. It is at that lowest point that nada, when nothing can any longer be found in the world worthy of desire, that the spell of the delusion can be broken, and the divine spark within the human entity can be contacted. It is then that the words which are key to liberation can be voiced. Not my will, but thine be done. It all begins with realizing our predicament, acknowledging that we are in a predicament, and voluntarily making the decision to no longer participate in the predicament. Wake up if you can. Wake up. The pearl of great price. Tribulations, pole shifts, mass landings of spaceships, electromagnetic pulses, nuclear war, photon belts, ascension. These are the things that have been associated with the coming end of the age. For the most part, people are looking for ways to preserve themselves and to somehow survive whatever catastrophe is coming. 6 years ago, this writer started this blog in a search for answers. What could we expect? What should we do to prepare? Could we survive what was on the horizon? All sources were examined. Comparisons were made, scenarios were presented. All was investigation, all was speculation, for, indeed, how could one really know? Well, a funny thing happened on the way to the pole shift. This writer discovered the gnosis. His spiritual spark was ignited. It turns out that the events of these times are not unique. They are cyclical. This is not the first time that mankind has faced a new beginning, only the latest. Not only was the end of the age a cyclical occurrence, but a necessary cleansing as well. Whenever the human condition becomes too polluted, it must be dissolved, recycled, and started afresh in a new day of manifestation. Why does the human condition become polluted? It is due to wrong thinking, wrong feeling, and the errorless use of the will by humanity. When man chooses to go against the fundamental designs of the Logos, when man chooses to not seek God, that man as a personality will be erased from the microcosm so that the microcosm can generate a new personality. This is the reason for physical death. Why? Because the microcosm is driven to seek and find the pearl of great price. That pearl is the spirit spark, atom, that resides in the upper right ventricle of the heart. This divine spark must be awakened so that the true heavenly man can be reborn. Beginning this process is the absolute one goal of humanity. It is the reason for why we are here. The end of age and the phenomena surrounding it cannot be stopped. The earth and her inhabitants will be recycled. What is important is that we become aware of our true purpose before the trumpet sounds. If we are successful, we can join the remnant that is now assembling on the shore. These ones will be brought to safety. This is so because it has always been so. If we as personalities do not begin walking the path now, another will have to take our place in order to do it at some far distant future time. There is no avoiding this. It is the one purpose of human manifestation. This is why the focus of this blog changed so radically a couple of years ago. The search for answers had turned up the God once known. All other natural speculations were answered. All else pales in comparison. The words of the parable finally make sense. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like the merchant who was seeking good pearls, and when he had found one costly pearl, he went and sold everything he had and bought it. Matthew 13:45-46. Seek first the God and the Spirit spark within, and all else will be added unto you. The God-shaped vacuum. There is a God-shaped vacuum in the heart of every man, which cannot be filled by any created thing, but only by God, the Creator, made known through the Christ. That God-shaped vacuum is the divine spark of the heart. It is the tiny spirit spark atom composed of divine material, not of this world. This is the only part of the divine that is within us. It is the seed from which the immortal other one can emerge, if through self-surrender, neutralization of desire and not being, we allow this transformation to take place. Do you not know that you are the temple of God, and that the Spirit of God dwells in you? Paul's first letter to the Corinthians 3:16.